All right. Welcome back, YouTube, to the GOATcast podcast. I'm your host, Big Nige, and we got CW here. How we feeling today, CW?
We're good. Start of a new week. Spring is slowly coming in, so it's looking nice outside. I'm feeling good.
I love the fact that when I get off work, it's still sunlight, and it's not pitch black dark, so it feels like I didn't work the entire day away.
Well, we lost an hour, and I definitely felt it today, but hopefully I can get into the routine.
All right. And for all you guys, struggling with this hour back like CW, just lock in. Oof. And everything will be all good. But speaking of struggles, so the Dallas Mavericks just got done playing the Pacers a few nights ago, and it was an incredibly epic beatdown on the Mavs department. They lost to the Pacers 137-120. And those who may have watched that game also saw Luka Doncic, who's known for his, prima donna antics at times. He was very frustrated during that game, and he threw a water bottle during the game. And obviously, high emotions in the NBA game. No one's going to fault him for that. But we've been seeing a lot of frustration from Luka Doncic lately. So just for anyone who didn't watch that game, there were 9 Pacers in double digits. And in the Mavs, there were 3. Luka was trying his damnness to get them that W. And this was a home game, mind you. You're only getting 3 other players giving you double digits when the Pacers, the away team, is getting 9. That's very telling. So what were your thoughts about that game? And potentially, do you believe Jason Kidd is on the hot seat?
Well, the Pacers are a good, sneaky good team. We've talked about them most of the season. So, that's not a surprising loss to me to the Mavs. The Mavs have been middle of the pack team out west. Thought they would be, more upper Western Conference this year, but no, and they made some decent moves and they're not bad, but I still think this team is not constructed the best. And, you've got Luka. And to me, Luka's more LeBron-like in that you need shooters on the court with him. He's a guy that will wait to the last second to get you the ball. And you need quick shooters. You need guys that can spot him and shoot. And Tim Hardaway Jr. does a pretty good job. Kyrie can do it, but you brought in guys like PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. These guys, you got to get it to them a little quicker than Luka's used to doing it. And it's just unfortunate. I feel like Luka might be saying, Dallas are wasting some of my best years. And I think he's getting a little frustrated by him, night in, night out, getting these triple doubles, getting historic stats. But he's still getting overlooked for the MVP, overlooked for certain things because his team ain't winning. And if you know the NBA now, you got to win for your stats to mean anything for the most part, unless you're LeBron. But, you have to win. And Luka and them just can't get it together. So I think Jason Kidd's on the hot seat, but I think Luka might be, if things don't turn around, I think he's got one foot out the door. I think he's going to look at some potential suitors out there that maybe can put the right pieces around him, and it's going to give him because Mark Cuban seems a little, he's not, I don't know if he's the full GM or owner now, but he's kind of stubborn with his, what he likes to put out there. And Luka's just, Luka's a once in a lifetime kind of player, and you got to put somebody with them that's going to bring the best out of him. And Kyrie's not it. So, Luka in Denver.
Okay, whoa. First of all, I'm not going to let you just sit here and say Luka's going to Denver. I don't really, in that duo of him and Jokic, I don't even see that really working because
no defense. So no.
No defense. Talk about a conga line to the basket. They gonna give up layup lines like a layup drill. But Nah, like, yeah, nah, I couldn't see that happening just because Luka really isn't the best off the ball. Like he does his thing on ball, and then that kind of takes away from Jokic and what he brings to the table with the ball in his hands. So it's just a lot of redundancy in my opinion, and not a lot of defense in that duo, where they could get hunted in the playoff series. They'd be doing a lot of cooking, but they'd be getting cooked right back.
Yeah.
But my thoughts, I mean, just looking at the stats, I mean, obviously, like I said, Luka was doing his thing. 39 points on 30 shots. It's a lot of shots to take, man. That's the price you pay when you're like a Luka Doncic like player. Like, you gonna get them shots up, but when it's time to swing to your teammates to have to, for them to be effective, you're not giving them very many shots.
They're cold,
and it's like you don't really have many, bucket getters, I'd say, on this squad. I mean, I like the additions of PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. I want Gafford to have a little bit more playing time because I think there's a graphic out there that's like Daniel Gafford has made like his last like 14 or 16, something like that, shots. And I'm like, that's great and all, and maybe they should go to him more, but if it's just dunks and layups at like 6'10, 6'11, I'm not really going to sneeze at the stat, but it's something out there. So he is producing when he gets the ball. Maybe he just needs to get the ball a little bit more, and maybe they just need to play him a little bit more. But this game really speaks to the Pacers' depth. Like, and I'm not going to say they're like so deep that they're like astronomically, going to make like a playoff run in the East or nothing. Like, they're a respectable young team, and they definitely have an upside to them. And Pascal Siakam, even though he didn't play that well that night, only giving them 13 points on 5 of 11 shooting, he did give them 13 rebounds, adding to that toughness that I highlighted when they got him, and they got him 6 assists. So he's doing the other things outside the lines of just scoring the ball to make that team better and make himself more effective. But when you're getting contributions from the Pacers, like 20 from Turner, 10 from Nembhard, obviously 19 from Halliburton, 14 from Obi Toppin on efficient shooting. Jalen Smith, 11 points. TJ McConnell, 13. Benedict Mathurin, 19 points. And, unfortunately for him, he's injured, out for the season. I'll touch on that a little bit more later. But you're just getting so much contribution that it's like, it's kind of weird because when you think of the Pacers and the Mavs, they have two great playmakers, right? And Luka Doncic versus Halliburton. But it's two different play styles. Even though Halliburton can dominate the ball, he's quick to give it up. Like, he can go razzle dazzle and get his shot, like he showed in the in-season tournament, where he can light it up with the best of them. But I think he's more of a willing passer, and I think his teammates play with a certain level of confidence because they know they're going to get the ball on time. They're going to get it early in the shot clock if they need it, and that inspires them to play defense. Because I'm going to be honest with you, like, I know Luka is great and all world, but if you're going to give me the ball in the last 2 seconds, or I'm not going to get the ball the whole shot clock and then have to get back and sprint back because you shot a crazy shot, and now I got to sprint back and chase my man who's leaking out because he knows you're not the best three-point shooter. And it's like, dang, man, you're not going to get the best out of me defensively because you're holding the ball 20 seconds out of the 24 seconds in the shot clock. It's just not conducive to championship level basketball.
No.
But I don't know, man. I mean, if we're talking about hot seats, personally, I'm kind of, and I know you saw more Rick Carlisle than I did, but I'm surprised they got rid of him, and compared to Jason Kidd.
Yeah. Rick is kind of old school, and I think that's what scared him with Luka. I think he was going to be a little harder on Luka and demand some things out of Luka that
defense.
that Dallas wasn't ready to demand from him. And Jason Kidd is a pretty tough coach himself, but I think because he's a player and he can but he was a player, he was a point guard that played defense. So maybe they're thinking he can kind of rub off on him and give him some pointers. Hasn't worked yet, but I don't know. I mean, I think Kidd's a good coach, and I think he was when they brought him in, I thought he would be a good addition for Luka, but it just hasn't panned out. So maybe I don't think they need a pandering coach that's going to just let Luka do whatever he wants. I think he does need some tough love, but they got to construct a team that's got people around him that's going to get the most out of him. And when you get people that get the ball at the last second, you just got to find those type of guys. Cleveland did it. They found Kyle Korvers and what's his name, Channing Frye, those type of guys that'll wait till last minute, can put it up and make it. Richard Jefferson too, but it's not working out for Dallas yet. They just haven't figured that puzzle out.
So then my last question would be, is the Mavs, because we all know the Mavs defense is basically non-existent. Mm-hmm. Do you think their defensive woes are a coaching issue or a personnel issue?
I think it's a personnel issue. When your top two guys are Kyrie and Luka, and neither one wants to. I hate to bring up LeBron again, but LeBron would play defense when he had to and needed to. He's going to give you some defensive stops. He's going to work hard on that in the floor when necessary. Luka's not. So that's kind of helped Kyrie, that masked some of his deficiencies on the defensive end, because he had a number two guy that was going to get it done on the other side of the court. But putting two guys that could care less about that side of the court, and then throwing in, Gafford's going to give you something, PJ Washington's going to give you something, Lively's going to try. Tim Hardaway Jr. is more of a, scorer. So, you got to put. I mean, I could. They should have got an OG Anunoby or somebody like that to help them. That would have really helped mask some of the stuff they don't get from the perimeter, from that perimeter defense. So I think it's personnel. They just got to get the right guys that fit with what they have out there.
Well, okay. I mean, the only thing I'll finish with that one is they did have Grant Williams, and I know he's not the greatest shooter, but he did bring a level of toughness. I would think.
Yeah, I thought he would do well with him.
And maybe his production wasn't matching his his bark or whatever, him just jawing at people. It's not really conducive if you're not giving consistent, production out there, and you're just kind of throwing your chest into people like this and getting cooked on the other end. Like, I mean, maybe they like Draymond said, maybe he's just talking too much. I don't know, not getting enough production.
Yeah.
But
no, he's not.
But speaking of the Benedict Mathurin injury, like, we've seen that's a big loss for the Pacers, obviously, because he's out for the season. He's not coming back. Karl Anthony Towns for the Pacers, I think he's coming back like early April. I mean, not the Pacers, the Timberwolves. Excuse me. He's coming back like early April, right around the playoff time. I'm just curious. I'm gonna just start on those two teams. What do those injuries mean for those two teams? Since these two are playoff teams, one kind of at the bottom in the Pacers, and obviously one of the top 3 seeds in the West in the Timberwolves.
Yeah. So for the Pacers, you lose a true contributor for them. I think they'll be fine. I don't think their ceiling was the championship this year, unfortunately. So I think they can still kind of make some noise in the playoffs without him, but they'll definitely need him going forward. So I think they're going to be a tough out first round no matter what, with who they have out there. Will they win a championship? No. Will they get to the conference finals? No. As far as Minnesota, this is where, it's good that they have depth, because Naz Reid has come in and been one of their best players, and he's been like that the whole season just about. He's definitely considered for a 6-man, but it's hard to lose an all-star right now and kind of get him out of his rhythm when you have potentially the Lakers or a Warriors team, even a Sacramento team that could be your first-round matchup. And that's not going to be easy for the Timberwolves. Even if they're missing him, who gives them a lot off. I'm not off the bench, but a lot in that starting lineup is going to make it 10 times worse. We saw what the Lakers did to him last night. Of course, they were missing Cat and Gobert, but you can't. This is a time where you don't want injuries like this. You can't have a heavy rotation person out because that one thing we saw what happened to the Bucks last year. Giannis got hurt. He was not the same Giannis, and they were first round exit. It's happened many times before. I remember Spurs back 2011, something like that. They were the number 1 team out west. Grizzlies came in there, number 8. Ginobili was hurt. Sent him packing. So, you don't want to have these rotation players out when, because no round in any Eastern or Western is going to be easy for these teams. Unless you're Boston Celtics or Denver Nuggets, it's not going to be easy. Any series is not going to be easy. And even for them, it's going to have depends on where things line up. So, it's unfortunate for the Timberwolves because you made me a believer this year. Mm-hmm. When early in the year I was not a believer, but I became a believer, and now unfortunately their time might be up, especially if things pan out the way it's looking. They might be on the way out early.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, Towns going down is definitely unfortunate. Wish him a speedy recovery. Mm-hmm. What it means for this team, I'm not going to say it hurts them too terribly much. Like, obviously, they might slide a little bit because they're, neck and neck with the 4-seed Clippers. If he's out for at least the next month, they're going to probably drop. I think they might drop probably. I don't think Anthony Edwards is going to let them drop too low. And Gobert's, I think him and Anthony Edwards, game time decisions tonight. But just looking at the Western Conference standings, I mean, they have a sizable lead against the 5th seed Pelicans. They're like about 4 or 5-ish games ahead of them. So they shouldn't drop lower than the 4 seed, I wouldn't think. And I think what's really going to be troublesome is when he gets back and the fact that it's getting closer to that playoff time. So now you're trying to get yourself back into game shape, get your rhythm together, because all those things are important, especially when it comes to the playoffs. And so when he's, hopefully he can get back quick and he can fit in, get in where he fits in, because they're going to need all of his production. And he's been one of their, top defenders on that team, all large part due to Rudy Gobert, but he's been no slouch on that end this year. So they're missing, a really good defensive player in him. Not all time, but he's been playing a lot better than normal. And I think it's going to be interesting how they play in this next month. Obviously for the Pacers, I think this is more of a bigger blow for the Pacers than it is the Timberwolves. Mainly because the ceiling for the Pacers, I would say I won't say ceiling. I'll say expectations are lower for the Pacers. So it's like you have Benedict Mathurin, who could easily come in and start for them, close out games for them. He gives them a certain toughness, certain versatilities on the wing. Like, he can do a lot of things for this team. And the fact that he's done for the rest of the season, it's not going to bode well for them. And because he was one of my favorite players to watch on this Pacers team, outside of, Tyrese Halliburton. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to miss him. And I think he would have been the difference maker in a series against maybe like the Knicks or I got to pull it up. But I mean, right now they're the 7th seed, so they'd be playing the Bucks. And he played pretty well against the Bucks.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna need him.
And I wouldn't, obviously I wouldn't pick them over the Bucks, but at full strength, the Bucks, and they got, Doc Rivers and his, unlucky coaching stints,
curse,
blowing 3-1 leads and always underperforming in the playoffs. The Pacers full strength and the, especially with the Bucks and how Giannis is still nurturing that left Achilles tendonitis that he's been, dealing with. I mean, hey, anything can happen. And I'm just saying, having somebody like Benedict Mathurin definitely helps a team like the Pacers. So he will be missed. But I think you said you had something you wanted to bring up to the table
Yeah,
real quick.
okay. And I think I know your answers, but we're going to spice this up a little bit.
All right.
Because we kind of mentioned this. If you check our Twitch out, I did play this video on Twitch. I might play it again because I thought Twitch saved it, but it didn't. But so so if everything lines up how it is right now, the playoffs, we're going to assume some teams are going to get in because we still have the play-in. And we're going to take out two teams. We're going to take out the Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics. They're already scary teams. What team is the scariest team in the Western Conference going into the playoffs? And who's the scariest team out east? And when I say scary, I mean no team really wants to play them.
Well, I think out east, I think it's pretty confidently it's the New York Knicks. I think they can be a matchup nightmare for most teams out east. Mm-hmm. I think with Mitchell Robinson coming back at some point, getting the size and toughness he brings. Obviously, Hartenstein's a really good backup big man. Mm-hmm. Then at the 4 position, you got some versatility with Julius Randle, Bogdan Bogdanovic, so they can kind of slice you in two different ways. If they need to play physical with Julius Randle, they can do that. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of him, he's still a very good player, and he was an all-star this year, so I give him his flowers there.
He earned his.
Bogdanovic, we know he can light it up with the best of them. He's a really good scorer, really efficient, and he can, and he can slide to different positions, right? Then you got the 3, you got OG Anunoby, and then obviously you got
we got a
done brought Mittens in the conversation.
We got a new partner in here.
Oh Lord. But after the OG, then obviously you got what's the guy's name? I'm already forgetting his name. I got distracted. The point guard for the Knicks. I'm blanking.
Jalen Brunson. There
you go. Jalen Brunson. They got DiVincenzo who comes in there and gives some toughness. Josh Hart. They got a lot of versatility on both ends on that team. And I think they can be a potential nightmare for anybody they play in the East. And even out West, they can match up really well. I'd say outside of, Denver, I think Denver's just too big for them.
You give them a chance in a NBA Finals?
Well, if you're saying we're talking about a team that's a force to be reckoned with that's outside of the Boston Celtics, I definitely say the Knicks. They look very poised to make a good run this year. Barring any injuries, and as long as their players get back and show what they were showing, because out in January they looked like the best team in the East.
They did.
But if you're asking me out West, I would have to say I think it's still too early for OKC. I want to say OKC, but you're gonna give me a little bit of flack for this. But I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves, and just hear me out, because I'm being consistent, number one.
Scariest.
They have looked really well this season, and the way that Anthony Edwards has been developing, I think he is poised for a really big postseason. And I'm not talking about just a couple points per game average going up. He is looking to put his name up there with the great ones. And I'm going to go ahead and say it early. You do not want to see Anthony Edwards in the first round. All right. You don't want to see him, period. He is going to be that big difference maker for this team. They're going to go as far as he can take them. And I think at least he can get them to a Western Conference Finals. I think this is the year where he shows he's that poster child of the NBA. He's the next one up. This is it. We've seen glimpses of it, last year, glimpses of it this year. I think we talk about a postseason run. I think the Timberwolves, they have everything they need to make a good playoff run this year. And they're a team that they can even match up with Denver. Would I pick them over Denver? Absolutely not. But they got the size to bother them. 2 through 5 position, they can go big. I would obviously not going to go small, but they can match Denver's size, and they can definitely hang with them. It's just a matter of execution, and you all know that not many teams are really out executing the Denver Nuggets. But yeah, I'd say the Timberwolves out west and the New York Knicks out east.
Okay, that was a shocking pick out west. I thought somebody else, but
well, you said Lakers.
I was thinking we were going to bring that back up, but I was shocked. I mean, I would say for the West, and you're going to call me crazy, but I'm going to say the Clippers again.
I knew you were going to say the Clippers.
I think the Clippers are, if they could get healthy, if they're healthy, they match up so well with all the teams. But they're going to need Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's going to have to get, I think it was his wrist or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's his wrist.
He's got to be healthy because he helps that second unit. I think they're poised for a big run. I think those guys know this might be their last stand as champions, as getting to a conference, at least a conference finals. So I think they have everything there. They have a good coach. They have good players at every position. They have a bench. They just have to get everybody out there and everybody playing and everybody focused. So far, that has been the case. That's my team out west. Out east, I have to agree with you, the Knicks. If they get everybody back, the Knicks, I think can be. I even think the Knicks can beat Boston if they have everybody there and if they have the mentality that we've got to do this and we've just got to play smart basketball. When they play smart basketball, I think they can beat any team out east because they have all the right players in the right spots. They have defense, they have offense. Dibs might have to reel back Julius Randle a couple times. Don't let him shoot some of them shots. But now with Bogdanović, I mean, they have, you can sit Randle down and have him kind of come in and be your offensive threat. So I think the Knicks have every piece they need to. I mean, they don't have the superstar guy. They don't have the Steph, the LeBron, to a lesser extent KD. They don't have that, but Brunson he's a man on a mission. So I wouldn't count against them against any team. And I did want to give a shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think I watched them play the Timberwolves, I think it was the other night, and they played that without Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, and they gave them everything they could give them. And Jared Allen looks like a threat out there. I mean, I don't know how long that'll last, but and Darius Garland looked like he couldn't be stopped. He looked like a Cavs Kyrie out there. He was just unstoppable. So, I mean, they can make some noise, but I mean, I think it's Boston or bust out east. And Denver, I don't see any team that matches up super well with Denver, but something says some team's going to surprise us out west against Denver. I think Denver's going to get an early scare that kind of will open our eyes to some things.
I'm gonna give you some pushback with the Clippers.
I know you are.
Look, listen. When it comes down to it, on paper, they're really good. Regular season, I got you. All right,
they're a good team.
Let's just take a little step to the postseason, man. And we know without a shadow of a doubt, in this life, we have death, taxes.
No, we don't.
James Harden stinking up the joint in the postseason. It just always happens. There's a flame out. They're gonna look great probably in the first couple games, 1-2 games, and then James Harden's gonna get a level of expectations that we know he cannot live up to, and he's going to fold. The Clippers are going to fold. They always do.
This isn't James Harden's team now. It's not his team, so it's not. They don't need what other teams, Houston and these other teams, needed from.
I agree. That's even worse.
No, they don't. They got. I mean, look at. I mean, I know he's older. He's had some injuries, whatever. Look at what Kawhi did in Toronto.
Come on now, that's not the Kawhi that we got right now.
He put them on his back, got them to the finals, and won the finals. I mean, there was some luck in that finals. You know,
some big luck.
The Warriors,
astronomical
the
luck.
Warriors had some unfortunate.
Hit the lottery luck.
They got the karma for 2015 when all the Cavs went out. So they saw what happens when that happens. But
we ain't talking about that Kawhi. We talking about right now.
This Kawhi is an all-star. This Kawhi is the best player on the Clippers. He's one of the top players out west, top players in the NBA. So, I mean, we saw he averaged 34.5 points last year in the playoffs. He was on pace to be unstoppable. You saw what he did to Phoenix that first game.
Yes, he played great against Phoenix.
Okay, well, that Kawhi could show up this postseason.
Could. I like the operative word is could show up.
Well, we can. There's a lot of coulds that we could throw around for the playoffs.
It's like James Harden could stink up the joint, like he's prone to do.
I can point these fingers at a lot of different players,
but it's like
Tatum could stink it up. I mean,
he can definitely shoot them out of the game just as well as he
can. AD could not show up. D'Angelo Russell could be a no-show. You know, Klay Thompson can revert back to earlier season. Klay Thompson. I mean, there's a lot of coulds, woulds, ifs that's going to go into this playoff season. But I think I've seen enough from the Clippers to be confident that they will be a team that teams will not want to play, especially early, because they'll be good early. I mean, if you can give me that, they can be a good first-round team. I don't know how far they'll go, but
I mean, right now they're looking like playing the Pelicans. I mean, I'm not going to pick the Pelicans over the Clippers, but I will say that series is at least going 6.